Good people, good people, good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 172. I'm Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving it a shot. Today's guest is the founder and director of Saving Others nonprofit organization. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'm sure we'll all be inspired by her story. Let's chop it up with Melonie Cooper. Melonie, how's it going?
Going good, going good.
Glad to hear that. First things first, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chop it up with me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, here to talk about all the great things you're doing with Saving Others nonprofit organization. But before we go there, let's get to know the woman behind the brand. Born and raised in North Florida. What was your upbringing like?
It was all over the place, I should say. I'm just being honest. I was a military brat until my parents split up, but that didn't stop my parents, being I was in their lives or whatever. They were in my life. I was born in Panama City, raised in North Florida, graduated from Crestview High School. So yay, Bulldogs. Um, I moved here in the state of Alabama in '09. So this is where I've been residing ever since. But I wanted to start my nonprofit organization because I love to help people out. It's a lot of us who need help, and my job is to try to come in and try to help them find the resources that they need. So
Appreciate you for sharing a little bit of your background. And which did your mom or your dad serve? Did you or
my
which of
dad,
you?
he served. He did. He
Okay.
served in the army. So he
Okay,
was
well,
jack of all trades. And that's where I got some of my resources from by liking to help people. Because if he see anyone that needs help, he will be glad to help. We tried to get him, I think it was 2 years ago. He don't like surprises. So we tried to give him a surprise party. And in order for him to come to that surprise party, we had to tell him that someone's car needed to be fixed. That was the only way we were going to get there. So he ended up coming and surprise, it was his birthday. So yeah,
nice, nice. That's all right right there. And shout out to your dad for his service. Definitely appreciate him serving our country and doing all the good things. And just hearing you talk about just him being a helper and just being a servant of all mankind. It's just great to hear that, and just glad that you picked up that trade and what you got going on present day in the nonprofit space. So, just in terms of you being a military brat, did you all move around a lot, or were you primarily stationed in Florida?
well, I was in North Florida the majority of the time. Before I was born, of course, my other siblings, they actually traveled and things like that or whatever, but I was mainly in Florida.
Okay, sounds good. And after you finish up high school, did you go to college, military, or did you go right to work?
I went straight to work. I actually went straight to work. I did some college, but I didn't. It wasn't me. I don't think college is for everybody. And I really don't think that you have to have a degree to have the experience. So
Right, 1000%. Yes, ma'am. I wholeheartedly agree. College definitely isn't for everybody, and that's good that you were able to identify that early on and you made the pivot and did what you had to do.
right.
Yes, ma'am. So upon moving up here to the Montgomery area to Alabama in 2009, coming from Florida, I'm sure it wasn't much of a culture shock, but I got to ask anyway, did you experience any type of culture shock moving from Florida, North Florida to Alabama?
Well, what made me move, I actually moved here with a friend of mine. And that's what really wanted me to start doing my nonprofit because everybody have a backstory and I'm not ashamed to tell mine. I actually experienced hardship in my life whenever I was in Florida. And it actually humbled me to want to be there for other people because I experienced it. Some people like to want to help people, but they've never experienced what other people have gone through, and I have. So I was there, and don't get me wrong, Florida was a good place, but it hit a hard time that I just had to move. And so I had a friend of mine who wanted me to come here to visit with her. And then when I came, I was like, oh, it is a lot different and it's a lot better because the side of Florida that I lived on, oh my God. But yeah. So we moved here. Well, she said she was going to move here. And I told her, I'm moving too. I don't have family here. But it was by faith that I trusted and believed in God and told him, hey, I know you'll make a way for this all to work out. And I've been here ever since.
Well, I appreciate you for sharing your story and the transparency and going through the hardships. And you're absolutely right. A lot of times people, we want to help others, but we never been in their shoes. And sounds like you said, you face some hard times. So you knowing what it feels like, it only makes sense that you would now want to be a blessing to those, considering that know what they're going through.
Right.
Okay,
Because we all
absolutely.
need it.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. We all need a helping hand in some shape, form, or fashion, whether it just be an encouraging word, a financial blessing. None of us are perfect, Melanie. Like we all need something.
Exactly. No matter where the help is coming from, we need it.
Yes, ma'am.
So.
Absolutely. So, Saving Others nonprofit organization. That's what we're here to talk about. So, what you got going on over there?
Well, as far as saving others, I've had events far as, well, just break it down what saving others is actually about. Saving others is about actually helping people find resources that they don't have. So just say if they're looking for a job, my job is to help them find a job, or if they're looking for a home that can fit their budget, that's my job to do research for. Anything they're in need of, that's my job to step in to help. So this coming up holidays or whatever, I'm going to be doing a community event for the people who are less fortunate for us for Christmas to be able to help them out and to try to bless them with things that they are in need of. I did something for Thanksgiving for the community, those who are less fortunate, did something for them. And for back to school, I did something for that as well, or whatever. So it's just been established this year, but I've been moving, trying to help people out the best that I can.
And that's amazing that you're providing those resources for people that are in need, and that you say you got off the ground this year and you're already rocking and rolling, got a few events under your belt. And what encouraged you to name it Saving Others nonprofit organization?
Because I know that a lot of people need to be saved, no matter if it's for Christ, no matter if it's for help. We all have been in the trenches, and some people are still in the trenches, and we all need help. And I just want to help save them,
Hmm,
even though I know I can't save them all. I can't help them all, and I can't, be Christ because I'm not Christ, but I can be His image to be able to help those who are in need.
that's amazing. I
So,
love to hear brand names and how they came about, and the way you came up with Saving Others is very organic. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah, that's how I came up with it.
Yes, ma'am. That's amazing. So whenever I have entrepreneurs on the platform like yourself, creators on the platform like yourself, I like to talk about three things: the aha moment, action, and audacity. Take us back to your aha moment when you first had the idea to take your love for helping people to want to turn it into this nonprofit. Take us back to that moment.
Well, what really, before I got it legalized and registered, I had a friend of mine who actually had a nonprofit organization in Atlanta, and she believes in helping a lot of people out. So I actually went there to volunteer with her. And I was like, oh my God, I really, really need to do this. I really do on my own because she's here in Atlanta, I'm here in Montgomery. And it just amazed me to see less fortunate people not have, and she was able to bless them. And I was right there with her to help do that or whatever. And that really, really, really lightened me up. It like really gave me joy because I'm like, I know I can do this or whatever. At first point in time, I didn't think I could, but just to see me being able to help her help others, that really brought me joy.
That's amazing. That's powerful. And shout out to your friend doing those great things in Atlanta, giving back to the less fortunate. And just sounds like you being in the environment, getting that exposure. That's what sparked you to want to create Saving Others.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, sounds good. So from that moment that you had the idea to create your nonprofit, how long did it take you to take action towards coming up with a name, getting the LLC and all that stuff situated?
Oh, it was rough at first. I can't lie. It was rough at first because I have been wanting to have a nonprofit organization. Well, at first, I didn't really know what the ordeal about nonprofit organization was, but I've always wanted to do it. I was actually doing the work, but it wasn't registered. But I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. It had to be like 5 years now. And then something just came over me and said, go get it registered. So I was doing the work all that time, but it wasn't legalized. And I was like, well, maybe you will get more help if you go register and get more information from other people to be able to get your stuff off the ground or whatever. And that's what I did. And so I was like, this year will be the year to get it off the ground.
Okay,
So,
sounds good. And hats off to you for having that self-awareness and just realizing, hey, I'm doing the work already. Might as well go ahead and legalize it to make yourself appear to be a legitimate business because the optics are, hey, if you are doing the work and you don't have those things in place, opportunities that would be there probably wouldn't be there. So that's good that you were able to identify that, hey, I want to be taken serious as a serious nonprofit. So you got legalized and been rocking and rolling ever since. Thank you for sharing.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am. The last portion, audacity, is one thing to have an idea. It's another thing to put action behind the idea. But to put it out to the world to be praised or criticized, that's where the courage, the audacity comes in my opinion. And just based on what I've learned from you so far, it sounds like you gave yourself that courage, that audacity to put saving others out to the world.
So saving others, whether we're donating or volunteering or just spreading the word of resources, I just feel like every little bit helps create to make a difference in the community. And so even though there are more organizations, whether it is a profit or whether it's a nonprofit, I just feel like we all can actually work together to make things better and bigger. Like it's all about being there for one another to be able to help those who are in need. So that's why I actually wanted to actually start it out on starting Saving Others nonprofit organization. And it's kind of some I don't think that some people actually get it when it says nonprofit, because when nonprofit means nonprofit, you have to actually have fundraisers, you have to actually have people to donate to your organization and such in that nature or whatever, but you just have to be ready. And whenever you don't have people there by your side, you have to be willing to use your brain to be able to find the resources that you're needing for your organization.
Hmm.
So,
Well, appreciate you for giving us that tidbit on the nonprofit space. You definitely just educated me, and I never really considered starting a nonprofit. But just hearing you talk about it, it just sounds like you have to be resourceful when you start one. It's in terms of having good relationships and being a person of good character and being able to reach out to people and get help and get resources. And it sounds like that's what you've been doing so far.
yes, indeed.
Okay.
You have to actually be positive in it or whatever, and you have to have compassion to be able to do it. Because without compassion, you start turning into a monster. Like seriously, you have to have patience and compassion when having a nonprofit. Because like I said earlier, it's not profit. So you're trying to actually figure out how am I going to make it from day to day with it, but it can be done because there are so many resources out there that a lot of people don't know anything about. And some people abuse it and some people use it, but you just have to know where to go to be able to have your organization up and running by being a nonprofit.
Yes, ma'am. Makes a lot of sense, and that's very powerful stuff. So you've done great things with the nonprofit organization, and I know great things are coming down the pipeline, which leads to my next portion, vision. What are some of your short-term and long-term goals for the organization you feel comfortable sharing?
Well, my long term is to actually find problems that are needed to be helped with and help solve the problem of this the situation that people are actually going through. Because this past week, kid you not, I have been seeing pregnant women, homeless people, people who need jobs, people who can't afford bills and things of that nature. So I'm going to try to actually reach out to more departments and organizations or anything like that to get more information to be able to help those who are in need, because that's my job, for me to be able to find a problem and help solve it. So I'm going to try to make sure I take care of that or whatever. I did a couple of things this past week or whatever, to help those who are in need because they didn't have heat in their home. So I knew I had extra. So my job was to go out there to go give it to them. So that's what I'm going to try to actually do. Those who are in need and give them what they're needing for their homes or life within itself.
Mm.
So
That sounds great. That's amazing. The long-term goal is just continue to solve problems, be a blessing to more people. I have no doubt you'll continue to do great things and grow the nonprofit organization to the new heights and great levels.
yes, I'm just trying to actually get those who are out there who are you have it's a in the Montgomery area, there are a lot of people who need the help. And you have some organizations who because you can't be everywhere at once. Where you just can't or whatever. But if you can be in areas that you're able to be in, why not help those who are in need? There are so many people out here with no job, people out here who are hungry. So if my organization does not have the resource, I need to be trying to get another organization who does have the resource so I can send them their way to be able to receive the help, because that's what we're supposed to do. If I can't do it, then another organization needs to be trying to help out as well. So, yeah, it's all about being there for one another or whatever. That's what the organization is about, giving people resources that they need.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Just in terms of nonprofit space. I know you've touched on just what it takes to run one in terms of being compassionate and patient and things of that nature. So, what would be one piece of advice you would give to possibly considering coming into this nonprofit space? Well, here's a better question: what's something that you learned since you've been in this space that no one told you that you would want to pass along to someone else that wanted to come into?
You have to have patience
Mm,
and compassion. If you don't have patience, you'll give up instantly. Like I've seen it, and it brought it to light or whatever. We can give people chances over and over and over again. You have to have patience to be able to let somebody. You have to give somebody else a chance, just like we would want somebody to give you a chance. And what I mean by that or whatever, if someone is actually, if you're actually in a nonprofit organization, you got to have the patience to be able to run the organization without being frustrated with doing it, because you're going to have some dark days. Seriously, it's not going to be easy, and a lot of people saying thinking that it's easy. You have some people who says that it's easy, but I can't sugarcoat it. It's not easy. It's fun doing it, don't get me wrong or whatever, because that's what I love to do, is to help people. But you have to have a desire to be able to want to have a nonprofit organization, knowing that it's not going to pay your bills. So you have to have a desire and compassion and patience to be able to run one, because there's a lot of work behind it. So, and it's all about supporting one another. So I don't want to say it, but I have to say it. You can't be a crab.
mm,
And the only reason why I say that, or whatever the case may be, because nonprofit is about helping one another. And if you have resources, you need to actually network with other resources to be able to explore more help in the community. A lot of people are actually failing in life because you have people who hold their hands closed. You can't give out a blessing if your hand is closed, or you can't receive a blessing if your hands is closed. So that's why I wanted to start an organization too, because I believe in helping everybody. And I get it, you can't help everybody all at once, but my hands would never stay closed because I believe in giving out to people who are in need.
mm.
So, and you got to
Yeah.
have discernment for it. Like, because you will have people who say they're in need, but it really be a want. So you got to have discernment for that. So,
Mm. Yes, ma'am. No, that's powerful stuff, and that's powerful advice for anybody listening who may want to go into the nonprofit space down the line. Gotta have patience, compassion. Can't be a crab in the barrel. You have to come in with an open hand, be willing to share resources, and most important thing, you have to have a desire to help people. Thank you for sharing all of that, Melanie. That was powerful.
you're welcome.
Yes, ma'am. As we wrap up the podcast, I want to ask $1 million question. I started this podcast to highlight the greatness connected to the city of Montgomery and River Region. Whether you were born here or lived here for a significant part of your life, be it college, military, or work, you residing in the Montgomery area since '09. I want to ask you, Melanie, what do you appreciate the most about the city of Montgomery?
Just actually seeing people or even the churches be able to want to have a desire to help people who are in need. Because in Florida, I really didn't really see this until I got here. And when I got here, by this being a low poverty area, some of the area, to see people wanting to help out, that's a lot. That's huge. That is really huge. So that's what I love about Montgomery, about that part, being able to help those who are in need, who are needing the help.
Yes, ma'am. That's powerful, powerful stuff. So, how can people connect with you, Melanie? What are your social media handles?
Well, Saving Others is on Facebook. You look up Saving Others. You don't have to type in nonprofit organization behind it. It's just called Saving Others. You can reach me on my cell phone, business phone, at 334-841-8580. I don't have a website yet, but it's in the making because I'm just now starting out this year, but it will be in the making. But Saving Others is where you can find me to get some resources on Facebook and on Instagram.
Okay, sounds good. And of course, I'll put that information in the description of the episode. Hey, Melanie, thanks again for the conversation. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I left out one thing because you can email me as well at savingothers@myyahoo.com.
Ma'am, I'll add that to the description as well. And I want to thank you again for giving me a few minutes of your time.
You're welcome.
Ma'am, good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumtown Podcast. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know what to do. Be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Gone.